Memorial Day weekend, Coca-Cola 600 weekend, NASCAR is racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Ryan Stevens from Win the Race is back with us after a week away. Ryan, it's great to see you here. I just want to dive right in. A head-to-head matchup I am watching closely, and I may not have to watch all that close because they'll probably be at the front of the field, is Denny Hamlin versus Chase Elliott. At Las Vegas, a similar mile and a half, it was Denny Hamlin 1, Chase Elliott 2. At Texas, another mile and a half, it was Chase Elliott 1, Denny Hamlin 2. Denny has won 600 win. It was a few years ago. Chase Elliott has not yet won this race, but we know this track is practically in Hendrick Motorsports' backyard. So in this head-to-head matchup, Ryan, who do you favor?
I'd have to give the slight edge to Denny Hamlin here this week. In the three similar races this year to Charlotte, we'll call it Vegas, Kansas, Texas, just the 1.5s. Denny's ran over 80% of his laps inside the top five, compared to about 46% for Elliott, which both, great numbers. But the Hamlins are like off the chart here. And in the race Elliott won, Hamlin actually had a slightly better average running position in that race. And I looked at the last three races at Charlotte. Denny has had a better average running position than Elliott in all three of those races as well. And then I look at the work that Greg and I do and Win the Race, and we'll simulate this race 200,000 times, and we put a bunch of good data and stats in there. And Hamlin has our best win percentage when that comes out at the end. So I'd have to give the slight edge to Denny Hamlin here this weekend.
Yep, fair enough, fair enough. Well, I want to open things up more broadly here because at the mile and a halfs in general, it's been JGR 2311 versus Hendrick. It's been Denny, it's been Chase, it's been Tyler Reddick getting to victory lane. William Byron, though, in this race 1 year ago, won all three stages, and then finished second in the race. That was 30 stage points back then. That's pretty impressive. The top stage points earners, I went back and looked at like Las Vegas to start this year, were all, Larson, Bell, Byron, Bubba, Hamlin, Ty Gibbs. Chase Elliott earned the most stage points at Texas before getting the win. So how did the Hendrick cars, broadly speaking, compare to the JGR 2311 teams?
Yeah, I'll focus on William Byron here to start. I mean, he's been unreal at Charlotte, like you mentioned. Over the last three races, he's ran over 80% of his laps inside the top five, and over 70% of those laps inside the top three. Top three finishes in all three races. Just an unreal run here in Charlotte for Byron. The one concern people seem to have this year is saying, Byron doesn't really have the speed this year. And while he might not have race winning speed, that's fine. He's still been able to find the finishes on those three similar tracks I was talking about, Vegas, Kansas, Texas. He's behind only Denny Hamlin, his teammate Elliott, who we just talked about, and Tyler Reddick in average finish. So he is getting finishes still on this track type this season. And those are the three guys who have won those races, by the way: Elliott, Hamlin, Reddick. So maybe Byron can figure something out and bring some race winning speed this week. If I had to pick one guy from that team right now, I think I actually would go Byron based on those stats. Overall, I think you still have to go with JGR over HMS here. I talked about Hamlin, over Elliott to start this segment off. Then you look at guys like Christopher Bell. He's behind only Denny Hamlin in average running position at those three similar tracks this year. And he's behind only Byron and Hamlin in the percentage of laps he's ran inside the top 10 at Charlotte over the last three races at Charlotte. Then Briscoe, he finishes third in his first Charlotte run with JGR. Gibbs has the sixth best average running position on those similar tracks this season. And we saw he's getting finishes now this year as well. And the JGR pit crews, this is one thing I wanted to bring up. A 600-mile race, going to be quite a few pit stops. They rank 1, 2, 4, and 8 in our four-tire stops on Win the Race. It goes Bell, Gibbs, Hamlin, Briscoe. I mean, going 600 miles, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for them to have some fast pit stops and gain some spots, during this race. So I would have to still take JGR over HMS heading into the weekend.
That's a great point. And I know Christopher Bell and Chase Briscoe, for that matter, could use a strong points day. And with that extra stage, there are a few other points up for grabs this weekend in particular. Well, now let's move on to some of the other teams. Don't sleep on Trackhouse. I think we all kind of did last year in this race. Ross Chastain had issues on Friday, Saturday, went to a backup car start at the rear of the field, but he wound up earning the 8th most stage points, and then he won the race. Ross Chastain is the defending Coke 600 winner. He was running top 10 at Texas a few weeks ago, the most recent mile and a half, when he made a mistake and sped on pit road. So, a scale of 1 to 10. How much faith do you have in Ross Chastain, or maybe to a lesser degree his Trackhouse teammates, to maybe contend on Sunday?
I have to go below 5 here just based on how they've been running this year. I'll say 4. It was a surprise last year that that backup car had the same speed at his primary. We had that car number 1 in practice score heading into the race. Um, in this season, though, it's just been a sad state of affairs for Trackhouse on similar tracks to Charlotte, the ones we've been talking about all show here. It's the best finish for this bunch, actually, on that track type this year is the 16th place finish by Connor Zilic at Texas. And you mentioned, Chastain was, running better there, but the best average running position of this bunch on any of those tracks, 17.33 by Ross back at Las Vegas. So it's a long time ago and still not a great average running position there. We did see some life from him last week, although that's a much different package, different type of track, but cool to see them have some speed. And we said it again. He was running better than where he finished at Texas, so maybe there is something there. Charlotte presents that unique opportunity. We're talking about 600 miles, a lot of time to make some adjustments, get your car right throughout the race. And they did prove they can bring an absolute rocket here last year. So, yeah, I'd have to give it about a 4 out of 10 right now, but they're going to be a very interesting team to watch as we enter practice and qualifying.
I like it. I like it. We also like this next guy, Carson Hocevar. This kid has been super close to winning a couple of different crown jewel races early in his Cup Series career. I mean, last year in this race, he was side by side for the lead with William Byron in the closing stretch when the engine let go and he DNF'd. He did earn 15 stage points in this race 1 year ago. Spire seems to have found another gear in 2026. He was really good at Texas a couple weeks ago. Can you picture a Carson Hocevar Coke 600 win, Ryan?
I do think I can picture this. We've talked about his steady improvement on certain tracks. We mentioned it before, even a crazy place like Talladega. Talked about how he's gotten better every single time he goes there. And then boom, the win comes. So far this year, let's look at the improvement. 3 similar tracks to Charlotte. He runs 7% of his laps inside the top 10 at Vegas, then 55% at Kansas, then 70% at Texas, finishing 22, 13, 7. It's improving. And then we saw even, his teammate, Daniel Suarez, top 10 the entire race. That's a Spire car. Last year was no fluke at Charlotte either for Hocevar, running over 50% of his laps inside the top 5 in that race. So we know they can bring it here as well. I can't wait to see what he brings for the Coke 600 Sunday. He's one of the most exciting guys in the series right now. And I do think, I'm not surprised if he's there battling for a win at the end of this race.
Dynamic. That's the word I would use to describe Carson Hocevar these days. Well, Ryan, now let's talk about the fastest Fords. A lot of folks usually circle Team Penske, and for good reason. They've won multiple championships in recent years, but I'm looking at RFK Racing. At intermediates this year, they have been impressive. Chris Buescher has a 5th at Vegas, a 5th at Texas, a 6th at Vegas. Brad and Buescher both led a bunch of laps at Darlington earlier this year, which I know is a different aero package now, but still almost a mile and a half track. Brad was 5th. Ryan Preece, in his first 600 with RFK, finished 9th 1 year ago. So who are your favorite Fords this weekend, Ryan? Because I'm looking at RFK. Am I crazy?
No, all 3 RFK drivers, top 10 in average finish on similar tracks this season. And while Charlotte hasn't been particularly friendly to Buescher, he is the best this year on this track type of this bunch. 5th best in average running position on those 3 tracks this season. And his teammates have been great at Charlotte. You mentioned Preece, top 10 his first year with RFK at Charlotte. Of all drivers who have raced, the last 3 Charlotte races with the same team, same equipment, Brad Keselowski's only behind William Byron in average finish here. So he's been close. And then you look at like Team Penske. Penske's tough here. I mean, 1 top 10 on this track type this season. Blaney finally got one at Texas, a 10th place finish with an average running position of over 19 in that race. So they haven't had one race on this track type this season where a single driver has had an average running position inside the top 10. So it's going to be tough to plan on Penske showing up and just magically being fast here. It can happen. I'd pick Blaney of that group if I had to just pick one car to show up and have that speed. In a long time, again, 600 miles to figure some things out. Logano seems to be like the strategy king. So if it does turn into that type of race, we could see him pop, but the speed I don't expect to be there for Logano. So yeah, I think RFK easily my favorite Fords heading into this race.
Well, Ross Chastain 1 year ago was kind of an improbable Coke 600 winner. Not a shock, but a little bit of a surprise. But before that, you probably have to go back to like Austin Dillon in 2017 to find our last like true upset 600 winner. So I'll end with this, Ryan. Do you have an upset or a dark horse pick for a Sunday night? Maybe not even necessarily to win, top five. I'll let you go where you want to go with this. Who would you keep an eye on Sunday?
Well, I guess I'll just stick with Hocevar's teammates and Team Spire. I kind of mentioned it earlier quickly with Daniel Suarez and how fast he just was. And then we talked about Hocevar himself. I don't think he's much of a surprise at this point, but it's not, it's outside of the JGRs, the HMSs, things like that. So if Hocevar did win this crown jewel, I think it'd be pretty cool. But yeah, Suarez last time out, he ran almost half his laps inside the top five at Texas. So Spire's bringing some true speed on this track type right now. You look at McDowell's first run at Charlotte with Spire, that was a top 10 finish. He wasn't running there, but he still got there. The old Riely vet, maybe he finds a way to, strategically get up there by the end of this race. But, regardless of how people think Spire is finding their speed, a rather controversial subject nowadays, the fact is we're not surprised when a Spire car is up there running top five at the end of the race. Typically, we think it's going to be Hocevar, but most recently we saw Suarez up there as well. So, again, 600-mile race, things could happen at the end of this. You get a late restart. These guys are running top five. Maybe they find their way to victory lane. So give me Team Spire as maybe a surprise here, even if it's not going to be Hocevar.
And I'll throw out the name Kyle Busch, not as someone who's going to win, I don't think, but I'm just watching Kyle closely to see if they have maybe legitimately turned a corner and found some speed, because they were top 10 at Texas for most of the day, top 10 at Watkins Glen. I thought they had a top 10 car at Dover, but he got dinged in one of those early crashes. Is that new speed legitimate? My bigger question is, can Kyle Busch go mistake-free for 600 miles? That I'm not so sure about, but I'm keeping an eye on Kyle Busch as well. Good stuff, Ryan. I like it. I love it. And we'll get some more of it here in the next few weeks. Charlotte 600 should be a fun weekend. Crown Jewel. Ryan, you can find more of his work at wintherace.info. And Ryan, you do the draft still every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Win the Race YouTube channel. Ryan, Tino, and Phil draft different drivers, a driver from every single major Cup Series team, set their lineups, do it all for charity. It's a great cause. It's a fun show. So I encourage you all to tune in tonight. If you can't catch it live, watch the recording. The link to their YouTube channels down in the description below. Ryan, I know we took a week off for the All-Star race. That was a weird week. Nobody was really sure what was going on. I'm glad we're back in a rhythm. Have a good weekend, man. Thanks for being on.
All right. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it as always. Everyone, enjoy the Coke 600. 1,100 miles of racing on Sunday. It's going to be a fun day.